The Seventh Tower by Garth Nix. Book 3, Einir, Chapter 16. Tal heard the slither of the sand pouring back behind him, but he didn't look around. The light walls on either side of him stayed steady and comforting. The stairs continued out in front. They came to an end in front of a tall doorway. Obviously, it had once been blocked by the enormous stone door that lay half across it, as if someone had ripped it open and let it fall. That made Tal stop for a moment. But the Codex had told him to come here, he reasoned. Finding the Codex meant finding Gref. He who hesitates heads redward. She who seizes opportunity soars to violet. Ebbet used to repeat that back to front and laugh his head off, but Tal took the saying seriously. He climbed over the fallen door and through the doorway. The room beyond had walls of stone and light, both holding back sand, judging from the piles that had oozed through gaps where the magic barriers intersected with the stone. In the middle of the room, a boy sat cross-legged, staring at Tal. A boy not much older than Tal, dressed in white trousers and a white shirt with blue cuffs. A chosen boy. Tal even knew who it was, Lennon of the Blue. He had disappeared last year. Every day of Ascension, all the chosen children who had come of age would go forth to seek a spirit shadow to bind. Not all of them came back. But what was Lennon doing here? And where was Hazror? "Greetings, chosen," said Lennon. His voice sounded a little strange, too high-pitched. Tal had started to walk forward to greet Lennon properly, but when he heard the voice, he stopped. The voice wasn't the only thing that was strange. Lennon was wearing several sunstones around his neck. One was bright, obviously working to keep the walls in place, but the boy had two more, both sparkling, though not currently active. There was something odd about the light in the room as well. The walls were shifting through several colors, which was reasonable, as it made them stronger. But now that Tal looked at them, he realized that the overall color in the room was a sickly gray. No normal chosen ever used that color. Tal raised his hand, and bright white flashed out, flooding every corner of the room. In its stark illumination, Tal saw that Lennon was not really Lennon. The chosen boy was just a picture woven from light, masking something much larger. An only approximately human thing of rotting flesh and naked bone that rose up and cast its disguise away. This was what Atris was afraid of. Hazror. The 3 sunstones Lennon had worn were not an illusion. Hazror picked one up in a hand that was more claw than anything else. Light flickered in the stone, building in intensity. Tal didn't wait for whatever Hazror was going to do. In the first flash of white light, he'd seen what he'd come for. Hanging around Hazror's neck, next to the sunstones, was a thin tube. A tube with 3 holes. Tal recognized it instantly. A whistle made of the same material as the trees and the crystal wood. It had to be what the Codex had told him to get. He'd also seen the piles of bones around Hazror's feet and the broken skulls. They were human, and most looked less than adult-sized. Lennon must have been only the most recent chosen to meet his end here, in Hazror's lair. The semi-dragon must have been drawing a skull, a warning from the Codex. Tal changed the light in his sunstone from white to red and sent a red ray of destruction blasting out at Hazror's head. Hazror countered with a violet shield of discontinuity, and the red ray disappeared into some other unknown reality. But the shield only covered his head. Blasting off another ray at his enemy's knees, Tal dove to the ground. That saved his life. Hazror instantly counterattacked, and a great blast of indigo light flashed over Tal's head. Tal didn't even know what the spell was, except that it was enormously destructive. His red ray hit Hazror, but several hidden sunstones flashed around his calves, absorbing the strike. Other stones glittered into life along his arms and thighs. Tal gasped in shock as an aura of light sprang up all around the creature. Hazror was literally covered in sunstones. Hundreds and hundreds of them. With so many defensive sunstones, Tal's light attacks were useless. Hazror was invulnerable. Tal rolled away as another indigo blast smoked the ground where he'd been a second ago. He kept on rolling, fear making his mind work faster than it ever had before. He couldn't run. He'd need time to create walls to hold back the sand, and he couldn't fight Hazror with light. Hazror laughed. His voice was still Lenon's, though much higher and more shrill. Another chosen come to play, another chosen come to pay. There was only one thing left to do, Tal thought, something no chosen would ever think of. But Tal wasn't only a chosen now. Whether he wanted to or not, he had learned something of being an ice-carl. He snapped out of his roll, ducked another blast, and threw himself feet first at Hazror. The creature's laugh was cut off as Tal's boots crashed into his stomach. He went flying over backward. A ray of violet light sprang out of his sunstone, melting a hole through a wall. But it missed Tal. He grabbed Hazror's arm and twisted it behind his back. He'd half expected the creature to be enormously strong, but Hazror howled in pain and did not resist. He did start screaming. Avral! Routh! Grovroar! At these words, one of the walls of light suddenly winked out, revealing more steps leading down. Bestial roars echoed through the doorway, coming from far below. Obviously Hazror's servants or guards, or whatever they were on their way. You will suffer for this, hissed Hazror as Tal dragged him across to the stairs. You will suffer! Tal didn't answer. He reached around and ripped the chain that held the sunstones and the whistle from Hazror's neck. The creature screamed and whimpered. My neck! You've hurt my neck! It was only then that Tal realized that Hazror had no shadow. He was not an Ainarian creature. He was just a very, very old man. An ancient man. And he must have once been a chosen. But he had left that behind when he came here. Judging from the bones and the sunstones, he had lured tens, if not hundreds, of young chosen to their deaths. Tal felt the disgust rise in him. How could anyone do what this man had done? How could he betray his own people? You'll suffer! You'll suffer! Whimpered Hazror. I'll show you how light can hurt! Tal didn't listen to him anymore. He let go. The old man, poised on the brink of the stairs, suddenly caught his breath and stopped his threats. He teetered there for a moment, arms flailing. Tal saw glowing red eyes coming up from below, ferocious eyes, as large as his hands, Vengnarl eyes. Hazror swung forward, screaming. Before he could swing back, Tal gave him a push.